Johnny,
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. All right, we're ready to get started. It's 5 o'clock. I'm going to read this little preamble and turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
All board members and members of the public have been provided electronic details and materials related to items of business. Upon entering the meeting, all participants, board members, and staff will be muted. The chairman will call the meeting to order, and the building official will read the meeting procedures. After the meeting procedures are read, the chairman will conduct a roll call to establish a quorum and document members of the board in attendance. The building official will then proceed with the items of business on the agenda. The chairman will ask for public comment at the appropriate time. At this time, all meeting participants will be unmuted to provide comment. To provide comment, please state your full name and address. The chairman will recognize you by name. Please be respectful of all meeting participants by being silent while others are speaking. After a motion is made, the chairman will conduct a roll call vote to document votes of board members. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Lyle. I want to welcome everybody to the May 19th, 2020 second Zoom meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. And with us this evening, we have Pete Zavasky, the Vice Chairman, Gloria Sternberg, and our legal counsel, Doug Berry. Johnny Phipps is an alternate. Is that correct, Johnny? You're an alternate?
That's correct.
And Haley Dale, our other board member. So we have a quorum. Also, I believe Edie Glaser is here as our city recorder. Is that correct, Edie?
She's here. She does not have a microphone. She's here.
Okay. Anybody else here representing the city? I can't see anybody besides you, Lyle.
Beth Reardon, city manager's here.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see you there. Okay, there you are. And of course, Lyle Patterson, our city building inspector. There are 3 applications, correct, on the agenda this evening?
No, there are 4.
4, excuse me. Each applicant is here because of their request for a building permit, which has been denied, and we're here to hear their appeal. It's a responsibility of this board to hear your appeal and determine if there's a compelling reason that would allow this board to grant your request while at the same time protecting the intent and integrity of the city ordinances. The board can only hear what's published in your appeal. If other items come up that were not included in the public notice, we cannot rule on them at this time. If the board grants an approval, it will be specific to your request. You must comply with all other regulations and requests to the city building inspector. Our procedure will be as follows. Lyle Patterson, our city building inspector, will introduce each item. The applicant or their representative may present the appeal. And especially now with this Zoom meeting, please introduce yourself for the record each time you speak. There will be a time for the board to ask questions, and we may solicit any comments from anyone. I'll close off the discussion from the public, and the board members will deliberate in an open forum. Board members may choose to have additional discussion with the applicant. Board member will then file a motion, and there'll be a second required, and then the entire board will vote. Decisions of the board are as follows. If your appeal is granted, we ask you to remove your yard sign and pull a permit within a year. If your appeal is denied, we ask you still to remove your yard sign. If it's deferred, please leave your yard sign up. Each of us as board members familiarize yourself with your application, reviewed your materials, and made a site visit if necessary. I'll ask the board now if there's any conflicts with any of the current items on the agenda from any board members.
No.
Doesn't appear to be. Okay. We have a quorum, so we are ready to proceed. Mr. Patterson, will you call the first item on the agenda?
First item under new business is the application of Todd Huber, 4410 Iroquois Avenue, for a special exception permitting construction of an addition to home being renovated, property of conservation. The building permit has been denied for the following reason. The addition is over on allowed footprint, but under on FAR. This actually came to the Historic Zoning Commission last month and was passed and the staff recommends approval. Tyler, I'm going to turn the screen over to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyler Stevens, and I'm the architect representing the Hubers for this project. I can share my screen and walk you through a site plan that I think might make it easy to kind of see what we're talking about. So I'm loading that up here. Give it just a second. Can everyone see that at this point?
Yes.
Yes.
So this project is on the corner of Iroquois and Jackson. It is a corner lot, and because of that, of course, it has street setbacks on both sides. But the house itself is composed, the dark black portion that you see there is an existing house that is on the site. It's a rather small, modest house kind of in the back of the site. And then the light gray is the amount that we would be adding on to that house. As Lyle mentioned, we took this before the Historic Zoning Board last month and discussed it in terms of the scale and the size, and they thought it was an appropriate approach to the project. We are under the total floor area ratio by a fair amount because this is just a two-story house, but we are over on the allowed footprint, and that is mostly due to the fact that we're using the existing house. We're keeping that and adding on to it, and so our design is a little bit more horizontal and not so vertical because of that. The existing house is a 1.5 story, and keeping in the character of that, the addition, the entire house will read as a 1.5 story. So it's not a very tall house, and therefore it has more footprint on the first floor. I don't remember the exact amount we're over, but it's a couple hundred square feet maybe. That is, as I say, largely due to the fact that we're keeping that existing footprint. If I show you the floor plans here, if I down, well, let me give you just a character. This is the house that's there, and as you can see, it's a 1.5 story. This is what I'm talking about, a shorter house. The footprint that this drawing here reflects the footprint, and you can see where the existing one-story house is down here in the bottom corner. And it's mostly composed of a master suite on the first floor. So that's another thing that adds to the footprint. A lot of times a master bedroom might be on a second floor. And then we have 3 little corner porches. There's one at the entry, one on the main corner of the house, and then one at the back entry. All of those, of course, add to the footprint, their exterior space. So it's all been designed to stay in scale and character with the neighborhood, with the existing houses there. It certainly doesn't read as a really large house. So we felt that the overage on the footprint was justified, mostly in that it allows us to keep the existing structure and keep in the character of what's there, something that's a little bit more horizontal and spread out. So at this point, I'll take any questions that you might have, and I can stop the share as well, or I can keep it up if you want to see any images.
Do you have a drawing of the building envelope, the setbacks, and how the house sits on the setbacks?
Yes, that's this site here.
That was Pete.
I can make it a little larger. So the dashed lines that you see here are the setbacks, and they create this square in the center. The existing house is over the setback in the back by a.
So the new addition is all the new is inside the setbacks.
That is correct.
And this is Gloria. I mean, it appears that you met the 50% rule because it's 180 in the front, and I think It was about 90 total setback on the sides. Is that right? Correct?
That's,
89.7 or something like that.
yes. I think if you, the 50% rule you're talking about in terms of impervious coverage?
No,
In terms of setbacks, side setbacks, even though this is a corner lot, but still a side setback.
you take the width of the front of the lot, and 50% of that width can be the length of the house facing that, fronting that lot.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Yes, that is
Is that
true.
correct? Am I reading that correctly?
You are.
Have you done those measurements, Lyle? Is that accurate?
It is.
Okay. And Lyle,
Mr. Chairman, sorry, this is Haley. Well, Pete, if you want to ask Lyle a question, I was just going to have him explain his reason for recommending approval when he's ready.
that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Recommend approval because part of the reason the Historic Zoning Commission was formed was to preserve the integrity of some of these older homes in Belle Meade, and Tyler's gone to great lengths here to do that. He has incorporated the existing home and the new addition design. It looks like it's very much in keeping with the neighborhood here in Belle Meade. And I feel like when people do that and they go that extra mile, I recommend approval.
Thank you.
Now, this is just Pete again. Just for my information, Lyle, or clarification, on the agenda, you have property of conservation. I haven't seen that before. Is that because it went before the Historic Zoning Commission?
That is correct. We have 3 properties. One is significance. That's up to 1939. From then until, I believe, 2000, it's a property of conservation. I just listed that to give you a heads up that it has been to the Historic Zoning Commission.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
this is Gloria. And question for Lyle or Doug. When it goes before the Historic Zoning Commission, are they looking at the setbacks and everything else, or is that just left to the BZA? Is that why it's kind of, you know?
I'm sure they look at and notice it because we have some architects on there, but I asked them not to comment on it. That's not their job. The job of that is left up to the BZA.
So there's no way to incorporate that to make sure that whatever, maybe it's a side discussion, but there's no way to avoid them going through the whole process if it's not within the purview of the code. I mean, I guess they still have to come before us to get approved. So they've got to meet all the setback regulations. But if
Yes, their first stop is the historic zoning to get if they get the design pass and they've taken into consideration using existing materials or trying to incorporate the existing house in their design, if they're outside of the building envelope or too much footprint or whatever the case may be, their next stop is BZA. So the first stop is historic zoning, then the BZA, if they have to come to the BZA.
I guess my concern is still that they're not required to look at the setbacks. I'm not talking specifically about this this particular one, but
No, they're required to obey all of the setbacks. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Stevens, do you have any other comments that you'd like to provide? I mean, maybe you might want to answer any other questions. I'm not sure there are any board members.
Yeah, I'm certainly here to answer any questions, and if you want to look at any information on the drawings, I can walk you through any of that.
Show us the drawing of the house on the area where it is over the footprint.
So that's the existing structure. If I go back to the site plan here, the black portion is the existing structure, and it sits over the back or side, I guess this is the side yard setback where it currently is.
So can you kind of draw a line with your arrow?
Sure.
Just,
Well, this dash line right here,
I got you.
that's the setback line. It goes
Okay.
through the property right there.
Okay.
And so everything that we are adding is within this square, which is the buildable area. It's kind of to the advantage that the existing house sits so far back off of the lot that we have enough area to build in front of it and yet have a larger than required setback off of Jackson.
Is there anybody else there on behalf of the applicant? Or anybody else in the public want to make any comments?
We
If
do
not,
I do have one more question.
Letters. Oh, sorry, just adding, we have 2 letters from neighbors in support of the project. I'm not sure if they were turned into Lyle, if you have those.
Yes, they're in the Google Docs. I can pull those up and share those if we need to.
let's just make them a part of the record. Reedy, to include those letters, please.
I couldn't open them. I couldn't open them to read them. Can you just?
The Hunley family fully supports. This
Okay.
is James Hunley at 4407 Howell Place, and Lindsay and I are very supportive of the project.
Are you here, You're speaking, Mr. Hunley, today, right now, on the meeting?
Just did, yes, sir. Just
Okay.
saying that we support the Huber's project wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you.
I've actually got James's letter up in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 letters. There's one. I'm assuming you can see my screen. And we have this one from Gary Slaughter, who would be across the alley from this property.
Gary and Joanne Slaughter, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Lyle. Does anybody else have any questions? We can close the public portion, but we can still ask questions. But anybody else on behalf of the public want to say anything there? Here? And if not, I'm going to close the public portion and have discussion among the board members now.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, so Eric Clifford, corner of Shepherd and Belle Meade Boulevard, right around the corner from their house. Just wanted to say that I watched the historical presentation and thought the architect did a great job, and corresponded with the Hubers on their landscape plan, and they're going to reuse a lot of the boxwoods. And as you guys know, that corner needs some needs a little help, and I think that the plan that they have in place is going to really upgrade that corner. So I'm excited about what they're doing there.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Is there anybody else here on behalf of the public that wants to make any comments? Okay, I want to close the public portion. Board members, what are your thoughts?
I'm good. I'm good to go.
Okay. Anybody else have
Mr. Chairman, this is Haley Dale. Move to approve.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Let's do a roll call.
Okay. Haley, you approve. Johnny Phipps,
I do.
Johnny Phipps,
Approve.
Gloria Sternberg,
Approve.
and Pete Zabasky.
Approve.
And I approve. So it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to the next item. Under new business, the application of Susan Garrity, 312 Deer Park Circle, for a conditional use permitting construction of a pool and pool equipment. The building permit for the following reasons. Pool is outside the building envelope. Pool equipment is outside the building envelope. Staff does not recommend approval.
Okay, who's here on behalf of the applicant?
I am, Mr. Chairman. This is Ben Page.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to start and thank you all for the opportunity to be in front of you this evening and to bring a project that Mr. and Ms. Garrity have thought a lot about in terms of the addition of a small pool to their landscape in this house. I've worked on this house 2 or 3 times in the last 30 years. It's a beautiful house, and we did the garden that's there now with the brick wall. And what I'd like to start out with, Lyle, if you don't mind, is BZA 1, which literally puts the pool, this pool, in context with the adjacent neighbors. We did a canvas of about 300 feet in all directions there and uncovered all the various pools. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read the distances away from the property lines on each one of those pools. 405 Belle Meade Boulevard is 42 feet from the property line. 301 Jackson Boulevard is 19 feet from the property line. 306 Deer Park Circle is 26 feet from the property line. 310 Deer Park Circle is 13 feet from the property line. 311 Deer Park Circle is 48 feet, and 224 Deer Park Drive is 56 feet from the property line. And is it easy enough for everybody to see that graphically, or is that big enough for everybody? And if I went too fast on that, I can definitely re-articulate that. But is that okay for everybody contextually? What we'd like to suggest in the development of this plan is contextually in this neighborhood, there are, as we just outlined, several existing pools that are closer. The average of all of those pools together is actually 36 feet, which we thought was interesting when we averaged all those pool dimensional distances from the property line. And if we could go, Lyle, to BZA 2, this is what we propose to do. It's a very small pool, 16 by 32 feet. It's focused out of the house. There's an existing pavilion that we did several years ago. And essentially what we want to do, excuse me, is create a very garden-esque feel to this. So again, the pool is 36 feet from the back property line and 37 feet from that side property line. And if you'll notice adjacent to the side of the house, the pool equipment is 28 feet, 9 inches from the property line. We're under all the requirements for square footages by about 779 square feet for all the existing requirements for square footages of hardscape. If there's any questions, I know the principal concern is the setback, but we'd like to say that we feel pretty comfortable that we are within the harmony of the neighborhood. And if you will notice on this BZA 2 is the green line, which shows the new setbacks. And of course the house not even in the new setbacks. So this is a particularly complex corner lot. As everyone knows, they're more complex in the corner. So anyway, that's what we'd like to ask for relief from, the hardship of being a corner lot in a setting like this house currently resides in. So if there's any questions, love to try to answer them.
Yeah, Ben, as always, it's a beautiful job, but this board does not have the authority to approve a conditional use of a pool outside of the setbacks. So I'm not sure we have any, we don't have, it's not that I'm not sure, we just have no authority to approve this.
That was Pete Zabasky.
This is Mr. Garrity. This is Mr. Garrity. I don't know if you can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The way I read the rules, the proposal would be in harmony with the existing development. In other words, all the neighbors. We have submitted to Lyle 2 letters from the Cobles and from the Jocks that are neighbors, and to our left, and they basically are fully in support of us doing this. I mean, you know, we're trying to do it we've lived in this house for 15 years. We're committed to staying here. We love the neighborhood, we love the street, and we love the house. And we just wanted to enhance it to provide us an opportunity for some additional exercise and some small family gatherings. We have 2 grandchildren that live in the area within 1.5 miles of here, and we just thought it'd be a great place to gather, and we'd like this opportunity to kind of stay consistent with the neighborhood. I mean, as you can see from what Ben has shown you, almost every one of the neighbors has a pool, and most of them are well short of the distances from the lot lines. And the other big plus to our backyard is that it's surrounded by a brick wall that is 6 feet high on three sides. So the property is completely enclosed. It's very private. There wouldn't be any issue with noise traveling, and it wouldn't. No part of this pool would be visible from any one of the streets, or in actual fact, any one of the neighbors other than the neighbor's carriage house, which you can see on the map is right up on the property line already and has been there for years. And I don't know that they use it much, but so for all practical purposes, it'd be a very private setting, consistent with the neighborhood. And, you know, the way I read the regs, the board does have the capability to approve a variance to the rules that were adopted after this house was built, provided we maintain harmony with the neighborhood.
Lyle, let me ask a question. As I understand it, this is a request for special exception. Is it a variance request or a special exception?
It's a conditional use.
But not a variance.
We had a case like this 2 or 3 months ago, and I
Doug Berry speaking now. Yeah.
Sorry, Doug Berry, city attorney. You know, a landowner can request a variance from any provision of the zoning ordinance, including the provision that swimming pools must be within the building envelope. But this was not presented as a request for a variance. And then, of course, the swimming pool is a conditional use, which has to do with other factors like, you know, buffering and landscaping and so forth, as the gentleman pointed out, to lessen any impact on neighbors. And he's right. I mean, those are the criteria for the conditional use permit. But as to the variance, I mean, Mr. Page was sort of on the fly making out some good arguments for variance there at the very end of his presentation, but it wasn't presented as variance. And of course, for variance, you've got to show hardship based upon an unusual situation of the lot, typically topographical, but things like being a corner lot or unusual shape or size, et cetera, et cetera. And it just wasn't advertised that way. And it's not something you can do without proper notice to the public and to neighbors that you're asking for a variance. So it sounds like it was perhaps a misunderstanding. That's how I would analyze the case where we are right now.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to make it clear to the board and the public that this is not a variance request.
Not the way it's presented right now.
Or do we defer and come back as a variance?
Do we, I'm sorry, this is Ben Page. Do we defer and come back as a variance then?
You're still gonna have to meet this, excuse me for jumping in, Mr. Chairman. You're still gonna have to, hey, Ben, Doug Berry, good to see you.
Yes.
You would still have to meet the criteria for a conditional use permit, but you also have to have a variance before the board could even reach that decision, because you're outside the envelope and it's not waivable just because of the conditional use restrictions. So it's a two-step, becomes a two-step process. I gather, I've not been the city attorney that long, I gather this has not come up much over the years, but we did have a case 2 or 3 months, or maybe it was longer than that.
Last month.
Last
Month.
Well,
Last
how
month,
about
yeah.
1 month? How about 1 month? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was at that meeting last month, and that's, I guess, why I'm slightly confused. Okay, so and if we would seek guidance then about the proper way to pursue this, and I apologize if this.
As my dear old daddy would have said, just read the ordinance. Yeah, just look at the ordinance on variance criteria. And I'll let Lyle advise you. It's not my done.
Well, let me say this. We either have to proceed as it's now presented, or if you want to move to defer it, you're asking the board to defer it, we can do that.
Yeah.
But again, as Doug Berry said, it has to meet the criteria of the variance.
Well, the lot does.
I'm sorry, this is again Ben Page, and we would certainly like to request then a deferral and maybe discuss this further with Lyle about the proper procedure.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, this is Haley. Can I ask a question?
go right ahead, Haley.
Thank you. Are we in the, or maybe it's a question for Lyle, but are we in the properties that have a larger rear setback than what we usually have? I know we've seen a few that require maybe 15 more feet than you. Are these lots like that?
No. These are
Okay, so this
Residence
isn't
B, 60 feet off the rear. I'm going to say 80 to 85% of the city is Residence B.
okay. Thank you.
Well, the applicant, is the applicant making, go right ahead, Pete.
Joe, would you like a motion?
Please.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to defer for as much as 60 days.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Gloria.
Gloria. All in favor by roll call, say aye, and then announce your name, please.
Pete Sabaski, aye.
Gloria, aye.
Johnny,
Haley, aye.
And Joe Dugman, aye. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Page. Thank you.
you, Mr.
Okay, thank
Chairman.
you.
Appreciate it. And we'll be back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the application of David Ingram, 4421 Time Boulevard, for a special exception permitting construction of an addition. Building permit has been denied for the following reason. The addition is outside the building envelope, but within the existing footprint. This one also came to the Historic Zoning Commission a week ago today and passed on first reading. Staff recommends approval. Van Pine, if you would unmute yourself, you are up.
Thank you, Lyle. Thank you, members of the board, for having us here to present this project. This is an existing house that we're proposing a addition to the rear, but also additions to the side. The place we're concentrating right now is the rear addition, which you'll see on the drawing that Lyle has up. The area in bright yellow is outside the allowed building envelope, but inside the shadow of the existing structure. You can see this is a very constricted building envelope, and we only seek to do a one-story addition in this location. And again, we are open to your comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
This is
Losing it.
Johnny, you're breaking up.
I'm having trouble seeing the setbacks. Okay. Can you hear me now? I'm having trouble seeing the setbacks.
If you can see the screen, I'm gonna draw the setbacks. So
Okay.
setback is here. You see it in green.
Yeah.
The other side setback is on the right. I'm marking it in green. The rear setback is here. Forgive my curvy line. And it is this one.
Okay, I see it.
Kind of a trapezoid. This red line you see here is merely the front setback of the front.
Okay, I'm good.
This is the building envelope.
Are there any more comments from the applicant or anybody else in the public here to speak on behalf of the applicant? If not, do you have any more comments? Okay, I'm going to close the public portion then if there's no other comment and open up to the board. Board have any questions or comments?
I just think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, but you have a motion.
I have a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll second it.
Gloria, you second it?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Roll call vote, please, for approval or denial.
Pete Sabansky, approve.
Gloria, approve.
Johnny,
Haley.
approve.
Haley, approve.
And Joe Duggan approves. It's everybody correct? Yep.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the application of Brian Fox, 610 Belle Meade Boulevard, for a special exception for the construction of additions and a conditional use for the construction of a pool partially outside building envelope. The building envelope has been denied for the following reasons. Additions are outside building envelope, but within the existing footprint. Pool requires BZA approval. Staff recommends approval. And Catherine Sloan, if you would unmute yourself, you are up.
Yes, hi there. This is Catherine Sloan. I'm the architect for the Fox project. This is a 1927 historical home, and it is on a lot that used to be 2 lots, and we're combining them. You can see on Lyle's photo how much of the lot by Belle Meade Boulevard, that used to be a separate one. We are asking to do a small 1-story addition that is outside of the building envelope, but it is no more non-conforming than the existing footprint. And Gavin, I believe, has another part of the request as well.
Yes, we're asking for variance for the pool, or I guess conditional. Oh, Gavin Duke, can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay. We're requesting a pool, and we are slightly poking out of the building envelope, but not further than any of the other non-conforming elements. And the reason for this, it is a historic home, and with it, there's a rose garden. I don't know if Lyle, you can go back a little bit. You can see the rose garden that exists, and they wanted to do a pool house, and all of our pool equipment is within the building envelope. You can see the building envelope at the lower side of the page there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty far away from the pool, but that side setback is what hurts that section of the pool. We're trying to line the pool off of the center line of the pool house and also off the center line of the front door when you come in through the historic part of the home. And we've got those outlined in red. And we do have fencing. We're saving the existing gates, and there's an overthrow that we're going to reuse in the Friends entry gate, which is off to the east of that center line of the pool house. And that will be fenced, all contained within that area. I don't know if you can see where the gates are below the pool equipment area.
Gavin, where is that specifically?
The fencing starts behind the screen porch. I don't know if you can see behind the screen porch. There is a 6-foot wall on that corner by the mudroom, I guess.
Yeah, it would be helpful if you can draw that in with some kind of colored line, because I'm not following any of this.
Okay. How do I draw?
All right, Gavin, are you seeing this?
Yes, that from that area right there, Lyle, down, it curves, comes straight down from there and follows down.
Well,
oh.
There's the wall coming down here.
Yeah, it comes, and that's 6-foot fencing, and then that's the gate. So and that's a lockable, 6-foot gate that's at the Friends entry point. So what we're trying to do is we're reusing a lot of the old boxwoods that are there that was original, and repurposing those and sort of sliding the fence behind that.
So this is the old motor court, existing motor.
Yes. Yeah, we're trying to put the pool sort of right where the old motor court is, and there's a lot of boxwoods that we're going to preserve and save out of that demolition in the general area there.
Is that 6-foot wall already there? This is Pete Smasky. Is that 6-foot wall that Lyle just colored in already there?
No, it is not, but there is one that is there sort of maybe through the middle of the pool, maybe at the shallow end.
Okay, well,
we have an existing survey that shows it. I don't know if it's on BZA 1.0.
Don't we need to approve that? This is Gloria.
Doesn't that have to be on the agenda?
I don't think it's on the agenda, is it, Lyle?
It's not on the agenda.
No, it is not.
Wall is not.
It's fencing. It's a low knee wall with 6-foot pool enclosure fencing. Sorry. Yeah, there is no 6-foot wall. Apologize.
Well, what kind of fencing is it? Can you see through it, or what exactly is it?
It would be a wrought iron with to meet pool code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pete Sabaski. Lyle, I'm a little confused about these 3 feet, these walls 3 feet tall with a wrought iron on top of them. Not being, don't they have to come before the board even like that? Because certainly you can't put one anywhere in your yard you want to, where you can put a 3-foot wall, but when you put a 6-foot, a 3-foot wrought iron fence on top of it, doesn't that have to come before the board?
It does. One concern is if it's a masonry wall and you're putting wrought iron on top of it, it creates a foothold.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a smooth surface. You can't have a foothold or a toe hold. So Gavin, right. This 3-foot wall with the wrought iron on top, would that?
It was 18 inches. I don't know where, if I said 3 foot, I apologize. It's 18 inches, if not a foot.
We can, This is Gloria. We can't approve it anyway because it's not on the agenda, right? Doesn't it have to come back?
That's correct.
Yeah, technically, these walls need to come off the back corners of the house and enclose the backyard on the property line. Any place other than that, it's approval from the BZA. The wall in question that's existing, that's 12 inches or 18, it's going to have to be all the same material. We cannot have a foothold or a toe hold. We can't have a masonry or stone wall and then have wrought iron on top of that, because that kind of negates the 72-inch rule.
If the fence is 6 feet on top of that, is that still within code then?
That would be in code, but the BZA would have to approve that, because now
You have to approve that. Yep.
fence, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we would need to bring the pool and this sort of fencing back to the.
Well, the pool's on here, right?
Yeah,
The pool. Or can we not approve it? This is Gloria, without knowing what the fence plan is. Doug?
I mean, it depends on whether I'll have to defer to Lyle and you guys who are there. I don't really plan to let you guys. If it's sort of intertwined with the approval of the pool and it's interdependent as to whether you would approve the pool, I would say yes. If the pool was in like a different part of the site or something, I would say no.
Well, the pool will be
kind of a
completed.
judgment call. I want y'all to be comfortable.
The pool will be completed before the fence. The fence will be the last component of this.
And they can always put a fence up. They can always run a fence off the back corner of the house to the side property line and run the fence around the back of the property. So they can always, that's not what they want to do in this case, but we could approve a pool without a fence.
I mean, that's just save some time for next month.
But this pool, we have no special direction from the commissioners regarding homes and the Historic Zoning Commission as far as pools outside the building envelope. Just like the last pool we talked about.
I agree.
This pool is outside the building envelope, and it's that, not that we, shouldn't approve it. We don't have the authority to approve it.
Right.
The
This
board
one
does
did not come. This one did not have a variance request.
Doug, please identify yourself when you talk, okay?
I'm sorry. Forgive me, Mr. Chairman. Doug Berry, City Attorney. I couldn't discern. So this agenda item was not written up as a variance either.
No.
We need to start doing that if they're going to be outside the envelope. Otherwise, they can't act on it. You're right, Pete.
So just for knowledge, if we bring it back where the pool is within the building envelope, what would we need to do for the fencing to be heard? Is that something on the agenda, Lyle, that we'll have to say other than allowable location? And the reason we would like to do that is we have sort of a historic Belgian block service court, and there's a motor court that comes off of, or a driveway off of Belle Meade. So it's really would be difficult because you can't use vehicular gates for part of the pool enclosure.
No, I know what you're saying. I think we would just write it as fence location is other than permitted, and it needs to be compliant height-wise and not have the foothold.
Sure.
As far as the pool, because of the orientation of the house on the lot, it was subdivided at one time. That's why this pool is partially outside. I understand that you're trying to keep it in line with the house, with the front of the house. But yeah, technically it would have to be a variance.
Well, and just to be clear, if you come before the board for a variance, the first thing the board has to do is agree or approve the lot as a variance. If they don't approve it as a variance, then it doesn't matter. You can't be outside the building envelope. So that's step one. And then step two would be to, approve the pool.
Okay, but you all can sort of take the pool as a separate matter and look at the house separately.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So Gavin, Duke, what would you prefer to do at this point?
Well, I think Catherine Sloan, are you still on here?
Yes,
And
I'm
that's-
here.
Okay.
Yes. Would it be possible to be approved for the house and come back for the pool later? Is Lyle and Gavin, is that what you're thinking?
I just didn't know if you could bifurcate those into two different elements.
Yeah, yes.
I don't see any reason why not.
No,
Thank you.
Barry says no reason not, why not either.
Yeah. Yeah, Chairman, I would like to go over the addition again. It kind of flew past me. I didn't get it.
Walk us through that again, Gavin, Duke, please.
Well, that,
I think
Hey,
Catherine's
Catherine.
saying-
Yes, this is Catherine. The addition is a small one-story laundry room addition on the existing garage side of the property. And it is outside of the building envelope. There it is highlighted in yellow on A1. Wow.
okay.
To the left side of the house.
So all the yellow is the addition?
Yes, that's correct. And just the portion between the guest house and the existing house, it's highlighted in yellow. That's the only portion that's outside of the envelope. So it's outside, but it's not any more non-conforming than the existing guest house and the existing garage.
Right. So I'm looking at the pool, and there's a line under the pool that goes to one-story addition. And what you're saying is that the 60 or 85-foot setback line crosses part of that addition.
That's correct.
And you're saying that addition, if I just look at it, it looks like it's outside of the existing setbacks just by eyeballing it.
The red line that Lyle just drew, that is for the setback for higher than 25 feet, and it's lower
Right.
than 25 feet.
Okay.
So it's on the,
Okay.
it's the,
So it's inside existing setbacks.
Yes.
that part of the,
The red line I drew is 85.
Right. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
one
this-
story. Right.
This
I
is the
got you.
second line, that's 60.
Right. Okay, so what part is outside the building envelope?
to the left of the house, yes, right there.
So this is Gloria, and what is that going to
Oh, I
be?
see. Okay.
It's just a connector between the existing house and the main house?
There's an existing connector, and then we are adding on to the bottom of that, closer to Gerald Place, is the laundry room. And then above that, toward the rear of the property, is a screen porch.
Is a what?
A screen porch.
Green court.
Catherine, how many acres is this property?
Gavin, do you remember offhand how many acres?
This is Gavin Duke. It's 5 acres on this side, and I think we have a little bit of a third of an acre across the street.
It's 239,492 square feet. So it's almost 6 acres. It's not quite 6 acres.
Correct.
This is unrelated, but I've always wondered, is this the old Harvey house?
Yes, sir, it is.
That is correct, Gavin Duke.
Okay. I got it.
This is Gavin Duke, and the kitchen hasn't been that updated, so there's some updating elements to this historic house that I think would benefit the lifestyle of a new couple.
There's currently not a family room, and it has a really small, like Gavin said, one of the original kitchens. It was small, kind of just used as a, kind of separate from the living space as they used to do them. So we're just trying to get them, as a family of 6, just trying to get them a little more open, usable living space.
Can you go back to the drawings of the actual house? And this is Gloria, and go over something a little more visually understandable than just knowing that it's outside the building envelope.
Catherine?
That's the existing, Lyle. That's the existing.
Okay.
That's the upstairs. Okay, right there, you can see the screen porch to the back. And then to the left of the screen porch, there's a little powder room by that connector. And then below that, there's the laundry room. So the house doesn't have an existing laundry room. That's right. And then the laundry room is below that, yes. The breakfast room, most of that is within the existing footprint. It's mainly that little powder room and the entry from the connector that's outside of the envelope and the screen porch. Yes, that's right, Lyle.
This is Gavin Duke. The breezeway is an existing element that that is going to be sliced and preserved and added onto.
Yes.
So tell us what the Historic Zoning Commission said about this addition you're offering.
This is Gavin Duke. It's under the 2,500 square foot, isn't it, Lyle?
25.
For additions.
We're at 2,100 feet that we're adding on, including the portion that's inside the envelope.
I'm going to go to some elevations just so you can see. Catherine,
That's the existing front. That's the front elevation. Nothing changes from that you can see from the front. This is the rear, the part with the hip roof that's shaded to the right of the glass with the railing above. That's the screen porch.
With those 4 columns there, right there?
Yes. 4 columns at the porch, and then there are 4 pilasters at the family room. So we're keeping it as minimal as possible, just a hip roof, 1-story, so as not to compete with the original architecture of the existing home. This is the right side elevation, and this is within the building envelope, this portion. The structure to the right is an exercise room that we're adding on, and there's a breezeway that connects it to an existing master bedroom. And that's all within the building envelope. This one on the left, you can see the portion of the exercise room that faces the pool, where the arched window is in the gable. And then to the right of that, which would be in the foreground, closest to the existing garage, you can see the screen porch that has the fireplace. And then to the right of the screen porch, you can see that little existing breezeway that's been cut through with the gable roof right there. That's the existing breezeway. And then to the right of that, the little 1-story portion with 2 windows and a hip roof, that's the new laundry room. So
this is all in the rear. You're showing us, Joe Duggan, you're showing us the rear of the house now, correct?
That's the left side.
Oh, that left side says that left side. Okay. And that left side faces what street?
The neighbor's house. That's by the existing garage and guest house.
Would that be the house to the left if you're facing it on Gerald Place?
That's correct.
Yeah.
This is Gavin Duke. That's the Stingles house, and then most of that view is protected by the existing guest house and the existing garage.
You can't see any of it from that property. We've kept the roof lines really low, and attempted not to do anything that would change the original architecture of the existing house.
So I guess this is Gloria. I guess there's no way to put what you're trying to keep it out of the front of the house.
Exactly.
But it's still, because there's a lot of area within the building envelope, and there's nowhere else you can put all this.
Well, the laundry room, there's not one. We really would like to have it by that rear entry, kind of a mudroom space. The right side is all a really formal conservatory and then the master bedroom. So the laundry room we were hoping to put in the more public area of the space where where the children's rooms are right above it and can serve as kind of a mudroom side entry from the garage location.
Does this house front Belle Meade Boulevard?
Gerald.
Gerald Place.
Gerald
Mhm.
Place.
But the address is Belle Meade Boulevard.
Yeah, just the driveway entrance, Pete, is on Belle Meade Boulevard.
Right. Well, there's driveway entrances. Looks like there's two of them on Gerald Place.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is Gavin Duke. One of those were it was added at a much later date. I think you historically would have entered off of Belle Meade Boulevard.
Now, the lots have, Gloria, the lots have been combined at this point?
Yes.
And this is, so is this the building envelope for the both lots, Lyle?
No, let's back up a second. If Gavin, you or Catherine would address the subdivide of this lot many, many years ago to the left, the property to the left.
That's the Stingle property, right?
Gavin or Catherine,
Yeah.
either one.
This is Gavin. Historically, this was a one lot. The Stingles lot encompassed that. I don't know if that shows on the which sheet it is, but there. I don't know if we included that. There's one that shows both of those lots, the neighbors. If you can look at BZA 1.0. And you can see that at the original size of that lot, when the house was built in 1927, they said that you could actually see all the way to Jackson Boulevard. So it was a huge lot at one point, and then in order for the house that is the Stingles now, for that to be made, it required them. There was an old stone wall, and they had it replatted, and in the subdivision just used that wall as the defining element. So Lyle, I'm not sure on the subdivision. I know that was back in the, I think I'll look and see here. Hang on. Historic. I thought there was a sheet, wasn't it? Yeah.
But you can see the red line that I drew around these two lots.
Yeah.
The original house was pretty much in the center of that property.
Yeah, and this is Gavin again. I think that we felt it was less evasive to be on that side because we do have huge screening. There's massive 16-foot boxwoods that will be used between the Stingles and this project, and that the pastoral sort of front yard that we have is pretty amazing. And the rose garden, we didn't want to disrupt that. So we really tried to stay within the fabric best we could, but with the condition of where the footprint of the house was laying out and where the kitchen was located, it just seemed best to sort of integrate that into that space. And Catherine, you may have a little more information.
Mm-hmm. That's right. This is Catherine. Yes, we didn't want to put anything to the front of the house. It's such a strong, symmetrical Greek revival style. We just really wanted to maintain that. The homeowners, fell in love with that, and that's why they purchased the house. And we just wanted to really, preserve that from the front. So that's why we tucked it back in around that breezeway that's existing, and in between the house and the existing guest house and garage. Kept those low hipped roofs, and once it's landscaped, it'll really just kind of look like it's always been there and just not stand out too much.
So that blue dot that is put on there, that's pretty much where the powder room addition is going, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
This is Gloria, and there's no, because I think there was a lot of, within the building envelope on the Belle Meade side, Belle Meade Boulevard side of the house. Was that ever given consideration?
This is Gavin again. I know that we have an existing rose garden that is pretty much well established, I guess. And so I really, Catherine, you may know more about the interior, but we really wanted to preserve and save that along with integrity of a lot of the planting around that. That we even moved the pool house and breezeway out so that we wouldn't disrupt that.
That's correct. And also just to the left of the blue rectangle around the rose garden that Lyle just drew, that's all the master bedroom, bathroom, closets. So we didn't want to put the family laundry room over where you would have to go through the master to get to it, because you enter the master through a private study and it's that whole wing. And so it really wouldn't work well for the family to have the 4 children kind of having to enter the laundry room through that master wing.
And you can't move the pool. Well, the pool would probably still be outside. No, it wouldn't. I mean, you can't move all that stuff where the pool is. I don't want to, I'm just trying to make it less difficult on us to make a decision. So the pool can't be moved and move all that other stuff where your pool is.
Gloria, I would say it would as far as demolition to the existing historic house,
yeah,
have to be a lot happen in order to make that functionally work as far as the use of how that's set up right now.
Mm-hmm. Lyle, can you maybe go to the new first floor plan that shows the rooms and the layout of the first floor plan? That might help a little bit. There you go.
Okay, so this is Gloria. A question for Lyle. You recommend approving, so tell us how you got to that decision.
Well, they're preserving the, majority of the house. It's definitely a house of historical significance. Granted, this portion I'm drawing now is outside the building envelope, but we've got a large existing garage guest house over here. We're not encroaching on the neighbors any more than that. I mean, we're not talking about much right here. As far as the pool goes, I took into consideration that this property, it's a huge expansive property. It's almost 6 acres, and it used to be probably closer to 11 or 12 at one time. The house was situated in the center of that 12-acre property. It was subdivided many, many years ago, and I just feel like with them trying to keep the historical value of this home, that's why I recommended approval.
Is there anybody else on behalf of the applicant wants to say anything that's here this evening? Okay. Does the applicant have any more comments other than what you said?
Mr. Chairman, this is Haley Dale. Lyle, could you repeat what you just said? I'm sorry. You cut out a little bit on my end.
Well, the reason I recommended approval for this was because they're keeping the integrity of the original structure. The house is definitely a home of significance, and the addition they're doing is very much in keeping with the style of this home. The majority of what's outside the building envelope is this large area over here that's existing. What the addition they're going to do that's outside is this small portion here, and I think a little bit of the screen porch here. I'm not positive. Catherine, can you speak to that? Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So at one time, this, like I said, this is a large property. It's 6 acres or close to it. At one time, it incorporated the lot next door, probably closer to 11 or 12 acres, originally built in the center of that property. It was subdivided many years ago. And I look at it like, instead of trying to subdivide this property and build other houses or tear a house down and build something else, they are investing in the integrity of Belle Meade by building this, and that's why I recommended approval.
Thank you, Lyle.
I'd like to cut off the public portion unless there's anybody else that'd like to say anything at this time. Okay, if not, let's do that, and now we can talk among ourselves. Anybody on the board have any further comments?
Well, I'll say that, you know, it looks good to me. It's not unusual for this board to approve additions that are outside the building envelope, but within existing setbacks. And this is a perfect example of that. And so, you know, I don't have a problem with it at all.
We did that recently, fairly recently on Linwood Boulevard, as I recall. There was either a bedroom or bathroom addition. Do you all remember that one? It's on Linwood Boulevard, close to Belle Meade Boulevard. It was an old historic home outside the building envelope. We approved that. I remember that one. So.
Well, we just approved one, the last application. It was just a little piece there drawn and colored in yellow, but that was outside the building envelope within existing setbacks. It's pretty common.
Anybody else have any more comments? And if not, does anybody have a motion?
This is Haley. I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Wait, do we have to approve just the building, right? And then we're gonna, so does the motion need to include the deferral of the pool and fence?
Well, we need two motions.
Yeah, we need, the motion is Haley, is your motion specifically for the building area that's outside the building envelope that's being requested?
Sure. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I'm happy to add to the motion if it helps our procedure here. Would you like me? Or does someone want to do we want to do that and then make a second motion? Doug, what do we do here?
There's a couple of ways you could handle it. I'm trying not to be overly technical. You could move to divide the question, but why don't you just say you're just limiting it to the house only, and then do a follow-up motion to continue the pool part. I think it'd be the easiest way to do it.
Thank you, Doug. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the house only.
I'll second it.
Gloria seconds it. All in favor by roll call?
Pete? Aye. Approve.
Johnny Phipps?
I think Johnny had to leave.
Oh, okay. So that leaves me. I approve.
Haley approve.
Haley approves.
Gloria approve.
All right. Then is there a motion regarding the pool at this point?
I'll make a motion to defer the pool and the fencing or the wall.
Well, we don't have that on the agenda. So
Oh, we don't have that, so we can't. Okay, so we don't defer. Okay, so we'll defer the pool for 60 days.
Yep. If it's not, sorry, Mr. Chairman, it's Haley again. If it's not on the agenda, how do we defer?
You're not deferring, pardon me.
Thank
You're not
you.
deferring that. It's just not,
Right.
it's not on there.
It's just not on the agenda. It just has to come up next time. So I don't think we need a motion for that, correct?
We're only deferring the pool.
We're deferring the pool.
But the pool wasn't, okay. All right. Okay.
The pool is on the agenda.
Right.
Okay. So you've got a motion on the floor. Is there a second to defer the pool?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor by roll call?
Pete, approve.
Gloria.
Haley approve.
Gloria approves, and Joe Duggan approves. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a few more items on the agenda. I want to take those up before we adjourn. We have need to approve the February minutes of this board. Has everybody read them? Any questions or concerns? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll approve as submitted, as corrected.
Second?
Haley Dale second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gloria? Aye. Pete? Aye.
Haley aye.
And Joe, aye. Okay. We also have the April minutes to approve or correct. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to
Haley
approve.
move to approve.
I second.
Okay.
Gloria?
Ask you approve.
Approve. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, well, it's a little hard to know what's going on with the Zoom thing, but yes, I approve as well. And Haley, did you approve the minutes as well for April?
I did.
Okay. That's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
I motion to
Well, y'all
adjourn.
You just want to stay here?
I'm gonna
for
fight
about
you
an hour
for
and-
it, Pete. I'm gonna fight you for it.
Can we
I tell you
have
what
a,
can do. We can
can
each go get a glass of wine or a scotch or something and sit here and talk if you want. I don't.
can we discuss how the HZC and the BZA are, I don't know if we want to adjourn and then discuss it, or do we want this to be part of?
By definition, you can't absorb, by definition, you cannot adjourn and then discuss it, so.
Okay, then can we
Treat it as an extra matter.
Can we have a short discussion about, I mean, once they go before the Historical Zoning Commission and the Historical Zoning Commission approves what they have drawn up, it seems to be very hard for them then to come to the BZA, and we might challenge what they've done. There's not a different way to do that, I guess.
I think, if I may speak, Lyle is on the front lines with this and may have his own opinion about it. The Board of Zoning Appeals, each have a different jurisdiction, different areas of legal responsibility and the things they're ruling on. If you're talking about true variance cases, things where you're talking about relief from what are called the bulk standards of the ordinance, height, setback, FAR, then if they're not variances, those things are treated as special exceptions. And then once again, I don't see a problem with that. I think that happens in every jurisdiction that has an historic zoning commission. Sometimes the applicants have to come before the Board of Zoning Appeals to get relief from the standards of the ordinance. And the one's approval doesn't tie the other's hands. The only area of concern I have is there's some parts of our special exception jurisdiction that are written up in a way that allows you to consider things like architectural compatibility and things such as that, which honestly falls more within the purview of the BZ of the Historic Zoning Commission. But as it stands right now, I didn't see any problems. And the applicants seem to understand that they've got to go to both places, and
Okay.
it's just the reality. So I didn't see any problems tonight. Wow, I should have let you go first, Bob.
Well, let me say, Lyle, let me say something. I made a mistake. I kept referring to John Bearden as Johnny Phipps, and I want to correct that for the record. And he's gone, so I want to apologize to him. I've sent him an email.
Well, that was Phipps, wasn't it?
That was
It's Johnny Phipps.
Oh,
That was Johnny Phipps.
I thought there was
Yeah, you got it right.
I did. Okay. I thought I saw Bearden up there.
You got lucky.
That's Beth.
But you can go ahead and apologize anyways.
I didn't see Bearden.
You saw Beth Reardon.
Oh,
Beth
Reardon. Oh, Reardon. Okay. All right. Sorry. Go right ahead, Lyle.
I was just going to say, going through the Historic Zoning Commission is actually, in my opinion, much harder than going through the Board of Zoning Appeal. These people are designing either a new home or a large addition, and they've gone, I know of 2 or 3 that have gone 4 months now, have yet to be approved. And when someone is doing their best to preserve the original structure or design a home that's in keeping with the integrity of Belle Meade, that's their first stop. And I feel like I recommend it and mention it during this meeting so that you take into consideration when you rule.
Okay, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Well, can I just say one thing? This is Haley. I just wanted to say I feel like it's so helpful to have Lyle give his recommendation and sort of his reasons behind it and why, because sometimes I'm just at a loss for why something is even before us or how many options they've gone through. So I thought that worked really well. I know it's the first time we've done it, but for me, it was very helpful. So thank you for all of your work on that.
I'm going to encourage you, if you would, next month to join the Historic Zoning Committee to see how it works, and maybe that would.
Well, I wasn't able to join this month, but the month before I did, and it did. So at least the Huber project was on the agenda, not this past week, but the one before, and it was very helpful to have that contact.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor first. Is there a second to adjourn? Nobody wants to-
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Peter.
Okay, I guess we're done.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lyle.